No, no, it's enough. Trust me. Hey, Finland. Well, one, I almost never do that, and two, usually it takes people about an hour or two to get in here, so I just wait until somebody comes in before I start. I'm not wasting energy doing an hour of nothing. I'm not wasting an energy doing an hour of nothing. People can come in, and then I'll start. Yeah. Haven't noticed. Well, before that, it was 2 hours of me having to wait for people to show up, and then I'd be tired. And then now with this, I don't. So that's just kind of how it works. Trust me, works pretty well. People can. I'm not wasting my time. I'm not wasting my time again. I don't have. I'll say this about my people or people coming to see me. Not the most. You know, they're not the sort of people who go like, "Oh, he's on. I have to come on immediately." How's it going, Finn? How are people doing? Opus! Hiya, hiya, hiya. What's funny, these aren't Cheetos, they're Cheez-Its. They're little cheesy things. Go get some Cheetos. Go capture that cheetah. Go capture that cheetah and bring him in. How's it been going? Oh, let me tell you something. This week has fucking sucked. Um, well, the power kept going out. We had a tornado, I guess, and the power went out, and it was out pretty much all day. And I'm like, okay, that sucks, but what can you do? It's a tornado. Shit happens. And then it comes on in like the middle of the night, and I'm like, okay, good, happy, it's all good feelings. And then I wake up, and then the power's fucking out again. Two days in a row, Opus. 2 days. I think. Not a big one. Yeah, I guess it was a tornado. I didn't see anything. Yeah, it just kind of came in and kind of came out, and that was pretty much it. Oh, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, you had that dream about me. I'm. It's funny. It's like I don't even really think about it. It's just like, occasionally you get weird weather here where it's just like a tornado or something happens, and then that's it. And I'm sorry. I mean, what the most annoying part was that the power kept going out. That was. Oh. Well. I'm sorry to hear that. Have you ever? This has happened to me a few times. Have you ever had a dream where you really? Yeah. Have you ever had a dream where you get really mad at somebody, and like you go through the whole day being mad at that person because of a dream? I've had that happen a few times. Like I was mad at them in the dream, and then I wake up and I'm still mad at them. It feels you feel so stupid because it's like it was a dream. Why was I mad? Yeah, 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 yeah. That is a weird. Yeah, it is kind of a creepy thing. Yeah. So, boop boop. uh, I thanks. It's weird to think like the tornado happened. I didn't even really think of it. It's just like it came very briefly and that was it. I was just I fell asleep while it was happening. Have you ever experienced a tornado? Yeah. Meh. They don't have that riz that say like a Oklahoma tornado does, right? I'm using that term correctly. They have the riz. They don't have the riz. I understand youth slang. Good. We're all getting old. You know what would be a big achievement? I learned just recently that it means charisma. Yeah, I just learned that. I just learned that that's what it's supposed to be short for charisma. It's still a little all yeah. The total riz. Opus, random question. Have you ever played the Fallout games? I have been. I've lived through. I've lived through two let's see. I've done two hurricanes. I've been in Houston when two hurricanes hit. I was it Isaac and Harvey. I was here for Isaac and Harvey. I've been sort of thinking about doing a. Yeah. Yeah. How was your heart? You know, I was in. I hadn't moved to Texas before. I hadn't moved to Texas before Katrina, but I was actually visiting Texas while Katrina was happening. Yeah. That was my experience too. Well, my Harvey experience was let's see. My Harvey experience was basically I was living in an apartment at the time, and I had power and internet, so that was all good. But there was fortunately, I had gone to the grocery store right before Harvey hit, so I had enough food. But but everything was closed for about 2 weeks. Yeah. So everything was closed for about 2 weeks. So I was slowly dwindling my food supply. Um, and what I had was I had potatoes and I had meat. I had gotten mashed potatoes and I got meat. Yeah. So I would make myself mashed potatoes and meat, but I needed milk, and about halfway through I ran out of milk. But you know what I had? I had pudding. I had chocolate pudding, and those have milk in it. So I made chocolate pudding mashed potatoes. Yep, that's what I did. Not bad, actually. I kind of liked it. Sure. But that's my Harvey story. Isaac, I don't know, 1 cup for potato. I don't remember. It was a while ago. How was it? Did you have power? That's the worst when you. Yeah. That's good. My parents' house, aka my house now. Um, this house that I'm in right now. Uh, they they were literally, hey, slow paced writer, how's it going? First time chatter. How's it going, slow paced? Literally everybody but their house was flooded. It was very lucky. Yeah. How's it going, slow? Good to see. Slow. Welcome to the stream. Slow, you are your friend of Funk, right? Of Esel Funk, Esel Funk, Ah. Or frequent commenter. Yeah, well that's good. Uh, they're around. We've yeah. You want to know how I know that? Funk released a VOD that a co-stream VOD that me and her did, and you popped up. Funk's cool. We were chatting. We chatted messages somewhat frequently. They moved towns and they're pretty busy. Just so slow. How is the writing going? How is life going? What are you working on these days? And I assume it's going fast paced, 1,000 words a day. So I. Oh, are you a teacher? Ugh, work. Are we still trying to educate kids? I thought we were got rid of that. No, that's good. What do you teach? I'm working on an article for my newsletter. Which, by the way, which, by the way, if people are curious, I'll just plug it again. I have a Substack. If people want to follow it, feel free to. Oh that's the heart. That's really good. Slow. So no time for I drew that, by the way. That's the thing I drew. Okay, who here has played Fallout? I had a cousin. Let's see. I had a cousin who did. He was up for that show. That must be a very. I imagine that's maybe the hardest one. Tell me, what's the writing project? I'm curious to hear. Finn, how's... So Opus, tell me, how's the manga going? Oh, that sounds fucking sweet. Okay, let's get into it. So why particularly the fall of the Roman Empire? I mean, that's a good setting for a book. Is it going to be about like some former Romans, some former current Visigoths? I'm curious. So I caught a glimpse of this show, and I watched a whole video about it that the History Channel has been producing for quite a long time. Called yeah. You know, the thing is, I actually don't know whole. I mean, I know, you know, the general overview of the fall of Rome, but that's a subject I don't know. Of course, Slow is. I assume everybody here is a Chat GPT. You were telling me if you were a Chat GPT, right? In fact, Slow. It was an arduous few weeks of casting Opus. But eventually I cast the greatest living actor, Ben Kingsley. That's right. Slow Pace Rider is being played by Ben Kingsley himself. Take a bow, Benjamin. So, so tell me, what's like the low fantasy aspect of it? I've been thinking lately, I really want to write a fantasy book. What did I do? I do too. I really want to write one. I've had a few ideas. I even tried starting it yesterday, but I just... Um, is Misty your cat? I thought like Misty was a person, like you were saying, oh yeah, they muted you. I'm like, what did I do to this Misty? Who's this Misty? Yes, I love fantasy too. Okay, I want to talk about this one fantasy book I tried to read. Because it was very, very good up until it did a very weird decision, and it creeps me. It's a very strange decision that I don't like that they did this. So I was enjoying the book until they introduced this one character who is an okay, so the character, they go, there's a whole long description of this character as being like super young looking. Well, that's a cool idea. Super young looking, and they say, and the characters all say she must be like 14 years old. Turns out, no, she's 19 years old. She just looks super young, and she's the romantic interest for one of the main characters. And I'm like, my question is, why must we do that plot point? Okay, so like it involves like ooh, I like that. I like that idea. How are they going to try and get the power back to Rome? Are they going to do? Are they going to make a train? I was reading recently that the Romans possibly had the technology to make a train, and they may have actually been quite close to it. Yeah, right. Isn't that a weird? I don't know. I was reminded. Has anybody seen? Nobody should see this movie. It's a very bad movie. But the fourth Michael Bay Transformers movie. So the fourth Michael Bay Transformers movie has a scene. Um, yeah. What really frustrates me, Slow Based Writer, is the book was so good up to that point. And I'm like, why did this have to happen? So the fourth Michael Bay Transformers movie has a scene in it, and where, yeah, until it got weird, and then I couldn't focus. Then I stopped reading it and started reading something else, which is very fortunate. But has a scene where okay, the main character, they changed characters, and the main character is now Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg has this 17-year-old daughter, and and the whole thing is like the daughter starts dating this boyfriend, has a boyfriend in secret, and so far so good. You know, Mark Wahlberg is an overprotective dad. He has this daughter who has this boyfriend, and you're like, okay, kind of cliched, but fine, a perfectly fine plot for a thing, and you know, like, oh, you don't even know the worst scene. Okay, the worst scene is this. Turns out that the boyfriend is 20 years old. And they have a long, detailed explanation about Romeo and Juliet laws in the state of Texas. And the boyfriend has a card that says, a laminated card that explains the law and why it's okay for them to date. And it's like, okay, yeah, okay, that's technically legal, but also you didn't have to put that in. It's like, why did that have to be a part of this thing? And what's funny is Video pointed out that this is not true, and he actually the laws don't protect him from this. Like, they totally misread the laws, and he actually is still in quite a bit of trouble. Like, Romeo and Juliet laws, not to get too far into it, are fine, pretty much. They were created so that if you were a 17, you know, if you're dating somebody and you're 17 and they turn, if you're both 17 and you turn 18, you're not in trouble for that relationship. And I think that's okay. Hi, annoying goldfish, but I don't know why just to finish, I do, it's Iris. Just to finish this up, I don't know why they included that scene, and it's pretty weird. And I felt the same reading this book, and I'm very mad. But it did. How's it going, Iris? It did lead me to read a different book, which I actually enjoyed quite a lot more. So, have you guys ever heard? It's called The Canticle for Leibowitz. It's one of the main inspirations for the Fallout series, which is why I keep bringing it up. How's it going, Iris? Yeah. So the Canticle for Leibowitz is a book about an abbey in the post-apocalyptic after a nuclear apocalypse. I think so, man. I don't know. Movies are so bad. It kind of got me. There is precisely one good Transformers movie, and it's the Bumblebee film. And maybe the first one. The first one's okay. The first Michael Bay one is okay. How's it going, Iris? But I don't mind the first one, actually. But you know, I think Opus you'd like. I think you would make. I think you would like the Bumblebee movie. It's a pretty. Yeah. 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 Let's see. In the second one, there's a human transformer, which is stupid, but I don't know. And then they do this whole thing where it's like the final movie. I watched a whole video series retrospective on it, so it's kind of on my mind lately. And then the final movie, they do this thing where it turns out Transformers have been throughout all of world history, which is equally dumb. I don't like that plot line where like it turns out all historical events were influenced by aliens helping us out. Humans are perfectly capable of writing that. Anyway, so that kind of inspired this little article I'm working on at the moment. Yeah, isn't it? And it also kind of takes like agency away. So, anyways, I also got kind of fascinated with. So there's this awful history show channel called show on the History Channel called, yeah, yeah, and there's a creepy racial aspect to it too. I won't say this for all things, but there sometimes you get these conspiracies, and there's this weird thing where it's like, well, certainly like not like especially like the where it's like a lot of times they seem to focus on non-white people's buildings, like, well, clearly non-white people couldn't have done it, it must have been aliens. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's all the time, because they're also hyper fixated on literally everything in history being influenced by aliens, but there is definitely a subset of these people where it's like aliens created all the non-white things, and then the white people made it. So it's, I don't know. Like they say the Aztecs, and they made the pyramids for like in Mesoamerica and in Egypt. Really? I mean, the gall of human beings thinking that the gall of like clearly ancient human beings couldn't stack rocks next to each other. I just yeah. Oh, that's weird. Oh wow. I just accidentally logged out of Twitch. Oops. On my big computer. Whatever. I'll deal with that later. Somehow I accidentally logged out, and I'm not sure how. Well, maybe I am stupid. Yeah. But no, I was just, I don't know. I'm trying to. I haven't really. I don't know. Lately, I've been reevaluating really hard my relationships, or like not relationships. That sounds creepy, but like the way kids come onto this channel, and I've been feeling very uncomfortable in retrospect. I've been because I'm a. I mean, the stream for adults, pretty much, or like more mature people, and the fact that there have been several kids who've come onto this channel, I'm very creeped out by that in retrospect. And I was just trying to. I'm like, I really want to turn on like the parental lock thing, but I don't know where it is. And I was gonna just do that quick, but I can't find it. Also, it's because I just want to talk about stuff I want to talk about, and it's like if I don't want kids on here for that, for the most part. Well, there's a thing where you can just set this for adults, and I'm not sure where that is. And I was just gonna do it. I mean, I still got my laptop. Like, I don't mind kids being on here, but it's like, you know. Listen, when I was a kid, I watched R-rated movies all the time. Wasn't supposed to, but I did it. And I kind of feel a little bit like that. Like, I should make it clear that they're not in a place designed for them. But I won't kick them out. I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't want to kick anybody out, but I feel at least that it's. I should give fair warning, I guess. You know? I don't know. Am I doing all the wrong things? There we go. Yay, I'm logged back in. Settings, moderation. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I at least want to make this clear that this is supposed to be a grown, an adults only channel. So, and I mean, honestly, as a kid, obviously the thing I did anytime. Okay, settings. Anytime I said, "Oh, this is only for adults," I of course clicked away. I 100% always did that. Permissions. Raids. Let's see. Oh. Okay. Help me. Yeah. We all immediately followed all. That's what I've always felt. But I'm like, you know what? I that's why I never bothered. But you know what? I realized, fuck it. I'm not. At least that protects me, I guess. Okay. I'm under stream content. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, click on settings, then settings, then stream, then scroll down. Okay, mature content. Okay, we're on settings, streams, raids. I don't see it. Okay. Creator dashboard. But I don't see it. It must have changed. They must have changed. 2023. Okay, 2023. Here we go. Yeah, I can start my spa streams. Ugh, I don't know. See, this is always what happens. I go like, well, I should probably put that on, and then I spend like 5 minutes looking for it, and I'm like, well, can't find it. Fuck it. Um, um, well, I made an effort. I made an effort. I wanted to be known. I made an effort. Okay? Because occasionally we talk about dark subject matter here, and I want to talk about it freely. Anyways. So I'm reading this book. Yes. Okay. Hello, the pen that prospers. How's it going? You're the heathen. How is... No, I'm a good boy. Yes, I wanted to just it's called The Canticle for Leibowitz. It's about a it's about a group of monks after a nuclear war trying to preserve all of human knowledge. It's really good, actually. It's a really good book. It was a huge inspiration for the Fallout video games, which is why I brought it up. Yeah, some good monk on monk action. No, but it's really cool. I really like it a lot. Not at the moment. I'm just working on a little article for my newsletter. It's a humor newsletter. It's humor. Uh, no, I don't know. I really like this book. Maybe I will write something with monks in it. Who knows? Maybe it'll be all monks all the time. Yes, the whole Substack. I'm very cool. Doo-doo-doo. Nope. Yeah, the coolest of the cool. There it is, Inspector. So, I was watching it. I saw this Ancient Aliens series, and I thought it's It's really funny that they only claim like aliens give credit to aliens for doing all the cool things in history, and I thought like, what if they did like lame things like uh, create the 1999 Inspector Gadget movie. Yes, they are. An ad is coming up. Oh boy, ad is coming up in a yeah. Yep. Sorry, everybody. See you in a minute. I have it set for 30 seconds though, so. It's all alien propaganda. Aliens, humans don't have any, don't do anything. It's all aliens. There it is. No. Ernest Hemingway, James Joyce. Ja- do you guys want to know a really weird thing? There's a chance like human life may in fact be aliens. In a sense, in that one of the prominent theories is that humans that initial life arrived on Earth by crashing crashing into in meteors. Yeah. Who came up with twerking? The aliens did. Obviously. I have two. I have two. I have an aunt who very much believes in all this stuff. She also doesn't believe space is real. Yeah. Well, my aunt has very legitimately told me that she believes that Trump and Biden have been replaced were killed and replaced by imposters. Yes. How did you catch me? So slow paced writer, if you're still here, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite Roman emperor? Man, this one got cut down a lot. Darn it! You're married to another nation. They always get you with that. We can't arrest the spouse of Denmark. It'd be illegal. Um, I get Hadrian. I think wasn't Hadrian gay? I believe. Wasn't I believe Hadrian was gay, right? Yes, Hadrian was gay. Yeah. So you can support Hadrian and support gay rights. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, no. Penn, I'm sorry, that's not how it worked. Uh, uh, that's not how it worked. According to the Romans. By the way, this is a very real thing. According to the Romans, yeah, you weren't gay if you didn't take it. It was, um, it was, yes, that is the exact thing. So as long as he never took it, it's fine. Yeah. You had to be penetrated to be gay. But if you were doing the penetrating, that was fine. Yeah. Exactly. Uh so listen, it was fine. Yeah. Although, like, if we want to be like honest about it, it's like Rome. Rome goes in and out through like different. They lasted for a couple of thousand years. Different moral, different like attitudes of sex appeared. But yeah, oh, it was slaves. It was slaves that they would bring in. That's how they got around it. Yeah, that's how they would get around doing stuff like that. No, she would not. Mary Poppins would not approve of owning another human being. I think you can find that in the text. By the way, if you're curious, not to get too far into this, but if you are curious, uh, that's what that passage in the Bible means. By the way, um, that's what they're actually saying is you can't do that. It's a very strange, weird idea that was around in culture at the time. Sort of. It's debate. It's definitely been used as that, and that's actually a quite old way of looking at that idea. And yeah, but it's there. There's also probably good argument that the convention surrounds that particular weird thing, because that was a big thing. Anyways, fun Bible fact. There is a very funny mistranslation that happens quite a lot. Throughout the Bible, you'll occasionally hear people go like, he was in deep concentration, or he concentrated deeply. And this is a mistranslation. That was like ancient Israeli slang for going to the bathroom. So whenever you see a passage of the Bible saying they were in deep concentration, what that means is they were taking a shit. Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, what a fucking... Yeah. What a fucking terrible... I hate that... Yeah. I hate the boy in the striped pajamas. It's a terrible movie. You know that's fake, right? That guy just made it up. The boy in the striped pajamas. That didn't happen. People think it's a real story. It's not. It's also trying to absolve normal Germans. No. So the boy in the striped pajamas is something he made up just to be tragic. It also goes into detail about how the Germans didn't know about the concentration camps, and they were innocent and they were being hidden, and it's like, that's not true. Yeah. There were some, yeah. There were Afro-Germans. It was a small part of the population, but that was a thing. Germany did have a colony in Africa where they also conducted a genocide. That's a very less discussed part of it. Yeah. So, but of course they would, because they're fucking nightmare people. But yeah, no, that's why I try and talk about it. Yeah. Well, those are called neo-Nazis, and they're truly a shitty people. Yeah. Yes, nightmare people. They are. Yeah. I just want to really push back against like the Germans not knowing about the Holocaust as such. Yeah. Exactly. They are Neopets. They're significantly worse. But the Germans not knowing about the Holocaust is pure bullshit. They all did. That's part of the whole deal. A lot of normal, everyday, average people really helped kill their neighbors and friends. Anyways, and I hate that book. I hate that book for postulating that. They also killed differently abled people, gay people, and Romani, by the way. Uh, Also black people, although just like one of the big controversies, if when it comes to, I'm sorry, listen, and people who know me say I talk about like Hitler way too much. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hitler way too much, and I'm trying to stop talking about Hitler too much, but it pops up. The problem is, okay, the problem is 20th century history doesn't really make sense. Like, in many ways, is still surrounding what happened after World War II. I don't want to use that word, but it's like, it's more like to defeat your enemy, you must know your enemy, sort of thing. Pen, where it's like, I hate the man and everything he stands for, and I want to make sure that society never comes to him, goes to a type of person like him again. But unfortunately, to make sure that never happens, you have to also know quite a lot about why it happened. Yeah. Yeah. Well, because like in many ways, modern world is about making sure something like Hitler never happens again. Yeah. Uh, so much stuff that we live in the modern day has been created to make sure that like somebody like Hitler never happens again. Like the UN comes into existence, NATO comes into existence. Cultural attitudes come into existence. Several major nation states come into existence. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know there was a Brazilian fascist movement, and for a while that the Americans were scared that he may unite, but ultimately Brazil joined on the side of the Allies. There is who is it? Mengele. Yeah. Really? That's interesting. I don't know. Yeah. Yes, that was a big fear. That was a big fear that the Allies had. That because Are you Brazilian? Because there was a big fear that Hitler would maybe, because Brazil was under yeah. I don't know enough about Brazilian history. Not through a lack of trying, by the way. I actually want to visit. I've actually always been fascinated by Brazil, and I really like to visit it at some point. But unfortunately, a lot of Brazilian history is written in Portuguese, and I don't speak Portuguese. But I know there was a dictatorship at the time, and yeah. I could imagine, because a lot of South America was doing that. Pinochet also yeah. Pinochet was also a big Hitler fanboy, and managed to and brought in and managed to save numerous high level Nazis from hid numerous several high level Nazis from capture in Argentina. The thing about the one thing I read about Brazil is that they did join the side of the Allies, and the Brazilian forces actually did pretty good, and the dictator at the time was so paranoid around them that he immediately disbanded the platoon that he sent, just because of don't want them to be too popular. But it was pointed out. I mean, it was pointed out. Yeah, that's my understanding. But I don't. But again, South American history is something I'm a little bit not as familiar as I should be with. I want to learn more. I really legitimately do want to learn more. But it's one of those frustrating things where it's it doesn't have that big of a there isn't a whole lot of English language sources for it. Yeah. there isn't a whole lot of like English language sources for it, and unfortunately, I only speak and read English, so I'm limited to what is like translated and brought over. So like that's one thing I was really fascinated by for a while was the monarchy in Brazil that existed. Yeah. Well, fortunately, Brazil can at least. Yeah. I could probably do that. I prefer to have like a Brazilian historian write them for. I would prefer to read something from like an actual historian from the area, but that seems to be impossible to find in English. So we'll try that maybe. Um. Yeah. Oh yeah. Whales of the Damned. Yeah. But that was a thing in like South America. I know that they were really like pushing like the Nazis were quite popular in South America for a while. I was listening to this podcast about like the Dominican Republic and how like Trujillo, Rafael Trujillo, God, I'm so bad at Spanish. Trujillo was a huge fan of Hitler and the Nazis. Even though weirdly he ended up saving quite a few Jewish people. I think that's part of it. Um, well, from my understanding, at least, like the upper class, like from what I've read a little bit, at least I think it's like the upper class were kind of Nazi likers, but the lower classes were more ally affiliated, and then then the U.S. did a blockade around Germany. Yeah, yeah, I believe it was. Yeah, yeah. I was just reading. I was reading about that. I forget his name. He was a yeah, yeah. He was I forget his name, but he was like a passport official for Sweden, and he just gave a ton of like visas very quickly out to as many Jewish people as he could. There's also a Japanese guy who did that too. There's a similar story of a Japanese passport official doing a similar thing, where he just would write. He would give anybody a ton of visas to Japan, and that's how he saved a couple thousand people by doing that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Brazil was. Wasn't it the last place in the Americas to ban slavery? Am I remembering this correctly? Japanese. It was one of the last. Yeah. There it is. Yeah. Chinue. I'm so terrible. Shinue Sugiura was a Japanese diplomat who served for vice consul of the Japanese Empire during the Second Civil War. Sugiura helped save thousands of Jewish lives fleeing Europe by issuing transit visas so that they could travel through Japanese territory. Really, Jesus, last slaves. How is that a thing? How is that a Jesus fucking hell? Oh, okay, that's how they did it. Ah, well, that's yeah, yeah. No, that's a little bit of a mistranslation. The problem with the 13th Amendment is this: it's technically they said it was legal for it as a punishment. It's illegal for anything but a punishment, which is a whole issue in and of itself. So that's like kind of justifies using like prison labor as like almost slave labor. Yeah, basically. You always find out something terrible. You always find out something terrible about. Yeah, yeah. The last nation. Oh, shut up. The last nation is slavery and yeah. Well, it's a lot of like debtors prisons and stuff is how they kind of from my reading of it, it was like essentially debtors prisons that they enslave people. Like you have to constant yeah. Uh that's not true. That was not true. That's been a yeah. Actually that's that never happened. Well sort of that happened. Yeah. That happened. That was Sherman who promised that, but that was never an official promise of the U.S. Um, Hi, Callie. Well, no, no. I mean, they should. That should have happened. No, that I mean, it's they probably should have honored that. That would have been a good idea. I mean, the fact that like slave owners got to keep their land, uh, kind of fucked us up forever. Still, uh, because ultimately, yeah, slavery and stuff, but well, no, not slavery. Right to end. By the way, very good to end, justified to end. We needed to end it. But the fact that the criminals who prospered off of the backs of slavery for hundreds of years got to keep their land and their money meant that nothing, the actual structure that built those kind of horrible systems, were still in place. Yeah. Exactly. 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 I mean, it's still good that it ended. It needed to end, but it's still good that it ended. But in retrospect, we needed to do a lot more to end it. Like the way like England ended slavery. Yeah, like another example is like England likes to take credit for ending slavery very early, but the way they did. Oh, thank you for the follow. But the way they did it was to pay off people, pay off slave owners, and they're still paying. They just recently paid off more slave owning families of debt, like just like 10 years ago, which is crazy to think. Um, yes, they did do that. That's a thing they did. That was fun. Listen, the world. I I'll say this: the world is undeniably a better place without slavery in it. You know, and whatever can be said, it's good that slavery ended. That's a positive. That is a positive effect. Did we? But now, but the scars. It's like, you know. Okay, take this. You still like you cut somebody's leg off with the sword, but then after you do that, you take them to the hospital. You cauterize them and you save their life so that they're still alive, but like they're still one-legged. It's like, yes, they're alive and they get to live their life, but they now have to live their life with a disability that you caused, and then you create a lot of things that are just for two-legged, that can only be done with two legs. Like you insist that only two-legged people can go to certain places or do certain things or hold certain jobs, and also two-legged people can't. One-legged person can't hang out with two-legged people. That's wrong. So it's like, listen, the one-legged person definitely, I think, would rather be alive, but you're not making life easier for the, you're not really making life easier for the two-legged person. You're not really making, you hurt that you made their life difficult, and then you made it even more difficult. Oh, I'll look. It's too long to look now, but I'll watch that later. And that's like the bullshit, like, terrible thing. It's like, yeah, definitively good thing slavery is over with. I think we can all agree on that. In any form, the fact that slavery is over with and illegal for a lot of the parts is good. But slavery... the effects of slavery and the neo-slavery and the sort of slavery that lingered on, is bad. And it must still be accounted for. And I think that's must be done, and the fact that we were so nice to... Yeah, no worries. Nice to, like, it's bullshit, like, how nice we were to, like, former slave owners and stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I'm an American from the South. There's a chance somewhere in my ancestry that people owned slaves. Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, the economic fallout happened, though. There's a chance people in my... Yeah. Well, yeah. Listen, like, you don't go looking in that background because we'll probably find something sad. But I've heard like economists like even fight against that. Like even fight against like slavery was propping people up, like propping economies up. It was certainly propping up the very rich. Like, the very rich were making a ton of money off of it. But in many ways, slavery was actually kind of keeping the majority of the South economically disadvantaged. Like, if we want to look at it from the white... Yeah. But if we want to look at it from... One thing I like to point out is, like, if you look at it from the white Southerners' perspective, they should also be quite mad at slavery. Because what slavery meant was that those jobs, which they could have had, which probably could have paid them quite well, went to people who didn't have... This sounds weird. It's a good explanation. It's a good explanation, but it sounds weird. So if slavery never existed in the U.S., Americas, what would have to have happened is that the very poor whites... Yeah. It sounds weird, I know. But what I mean by this is that the poor whites would have had those jobs, and they probably would have been less poor, and the money would have been shared around more equally. And the economy probably in the South could have developed. Yeah, that's more the way I would phrase it. I mean, that's kind of what Marx was saying. It's weird to think that Karl Marx was around during the Civil War. In fact, he wrote several letters to Lincoln. And I'm not saying I'm Marxist, but I do agree with him on this. That yeah. K, put a K, Carl. It's Karl. I believe. Yeah. Yeah, but it's like yes. Anyways, yeah, I know that's a weird argument because yeah, Carl Chan, sure. Anyways, I believe I believe fundamentally that what at the end of the day, like the Civil War was a righteous war that saved America from itself. Saved America. Finally began to live. America finally tried with the Civil War to begin to live up to its actual promises, and I believe that doing that was a good and fundamentally just thing. And then I think we immediately shit the bed because we didn't want to pick up any of the responsibility of the next part. And I think we were entirely too like it was a moral act that we got cold feet. Well, yeah. Well, I would also say that yeah. I would also say that Grant, if I could briefly talk, that Grant, I believe, also really did try very hard, but we ended Reconstruction way too soon. Like, what needed to happen after the Civil War is that Southern society needed to be completely rebuilt, and we didn't do that. Like, it needed to essentially be rebuilt from the ground up. Yeah. Yeah. Unavowed? I have not heard of Unavowed. Yeah, it did. It did. That's why. Oh yes, I have heard of this game. I will get it. It looks. I've been meaning to play it. Sorry, that got serious, but yeah. See, one of the things that's interesting, not to talk too much further about this, but one of the things that's interesting, if we really want to look at like the difference between the South and the North, we have to look at where like people immigrated from mostly. The North was based around, and by the way, when we talk about the North, obviously the North is not clean, but um, the North, the people from the North mostly were immigrants from, say, a. This wouldn't be your book, would it? Were like how would I best describe it? They were from the city mostly, like they were city dwellers mostly, like from London, England. But people from the South, one of the things that is interesting that isn't talked about is a lot of initial immigration to the South was from Europe were actually uh, white people who lived in the Caribbeans, like white English people who like ran like plantations in the Caribbeans, and they kind of brought that whole like idea with them. Well, I got it was free on Kindle, so I got it for free for Kindle. Anyways, what? I will. I will. Yeah. Oh right, didn't Outlander do a whole thing about that? Ben, what would you say your is this? Anyways, but to be well, if it's free on Kindle, yeah, it's not free on Kindle. Well, I guess. Ooh, he did win a Hugo Award. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that happened earlier when they started opening up the South, the southern Caribbean like plantation owners started immigrating there. Anyways, so they kind of brought that whole society. So like. Slavery was much more inbuilt in the. I'm glad. I'm going to say this. If I just throw this out, and then we can move on to another discussion. Because it's always a sad one. I'm going to throw this out there. My dad. That's a dark story. I don't. I'm glad slavery ended, and I think it was a very good thing that it ended. Yeah. There. I don't care if it's controversial. Oh, thank you. I don't care if it's controversial. I'm just going to say it. Old John Brown is smiling. I said, I'm glad slavery was ended. I think it's... we were just mostly talking about the Civil War. Civil War and its successes and its ultimate failure, and the successes and ultimate failures of the post-Civil War era. And and Hitler and how that relates. Yeah. And gay Roman orgies. Yeah, it started with that conversation. Sometimes it's hard to figure out how one goes from one to the other. How's it going, Ocelot? It's fine. That happens all the time on this channel. I have a bugbear lately about ancient alien bullshit. So I thought I was gonna maybe talk about that, but the writing is going good. We're slowly working on my newsletter. I'm a little bit behind on my newsletter. I keep saying I want to write a fantasy book, but I don't have any ideas. That's great. I don't know. I just want to write one. Ogre poker? That'd be fun. Have you guys ever played Crusader Kings? I had a game once. I've talked about this before. My favorite game ever on Crusader Kings. I always thought would make a good story. So I'm playing the Hootsvilles in Okay, so let me pitch this story. What happened in this game? Because it's a good story, I think. So I'm playing the Huntsvilles. I almost forget how to say, in Norman, Sicily, and I've just managed to create the Kingdom of Sicily. Now, the Huntsvilles were of course a real people, and there is six children, about 5 boys and 3 girls, and the old guy in charge. So no big deal. The old guy in charge will die, and his son will take over. And what happens is the Black Plague comes about, just as I managed to conquer Norman, Sicily, and a massive plague of smallpox rips through my entire kingdom, and it kills literally everyone. Like literally everybody except for one girl. Like all of the sons die, all of the daughters die, both of the parents die. Literally the entire family but one girl survives. Well, of the royal family. So she's the only one left. She is, and in Crusader Kings there's characters are born, you get like education, diplomacy, war, stewardship, and intrigue. And she had an education focus. In particular, she had a religion education focus. Like her whole thing, she was just studying to be like she's like 14 or 15, and she's gonna be a religion. So now suddenly she is the queen of Sicily, and me conquering all these places, and I have managed, of course, to immediately piss everybody off. And I like 3 or 4 different major nations all decide to attack me all at once. And I have this one girl who can't do really anything. And somehow, I don't know how I did it, I beat them all off. With just her. I somehow won all 3 of my wars. Yeah, not a bad plot, right? And I somehow won all 3 of my wars, and I was able to... And I played her until she died at like 80. Ruling. I wish I had recorded it, because it was like the most like intense like 2 or 3 hours of gameplay I've ever done in that game, where I just had to constantly outplay every... Yeah. Yeah, but that's my favorite game of that. Yeah, it was a pretty... that was really fun, because it threw me... Yeah. Nope, she wasn't. She managed to win quite a lot of battles. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's long gone. But it was an epic story. It was an epic story full of like intrigue and convention. A good protagonist rose from the ashes. A good protagonist rose from the ashes, and it became a hero that everybody needed in that exact moment, and she got to survive. I remember the first things I did is I had her like just quick marry somebody with more power. Anyways, so I thought I've always thought that would be a good basis for like a fantasy novel, is something along the lines of like a character, some essentially that plot line. Yeah, you can marry. Yeah, you marry. So one of the gameplay things. One of the gameplay things you have to do is like you have to you get married, and then you have to marry off your kids. Like you marry off your kids to other people, and that's how you can form alliances. I think I had to marry like a really old guy. I married her to like the most powerful person I could find really quickly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's fun. It's fun. I was desperate. I was just trying to survive. But yeah. But I don't know. It actually, in some ways, mirrors the actual founding of the kingdom. By the way, if you're curious what my favorite medieval kingdom is, it's the kingdom. It's Norman ruled Sicily. It's my favorite medieval kingdom. And one of the things that they did in Norman Sicily, one of the things that they had to do in Norman Sicily is kidnap the Pope. Kidnapped it. They fought a war against the Pope to. It's pretty funny. Norman Sicily is pretty great. Part of the reason people like Norman Sicily is because Norman Sicily was surprisingly very diverse and accepting, which is weird of a medieval kingdom. There was a prominent community of Jewish and Muslim. Yes, I have not matured since. No, but anyways. But it's a good premise for a story, right? Like low ranked princess girl who like was maybe like gonna spend her life as a nun, through like happenstance, like through like horrible tragedy ends up being placed in the being placed as the head of a nation, and has to somehow survive. Like her nation and herself probably has to survive attacks from all angles. And like Norman Sicily, like Sicily was all about like trying to negotiate between all the different groups of people that lived on the island, whether it was the Muslims or the Jewish people, and the original Italians, and then the ruling class of the Normans. It was all about trying to negotiate political alliances between those three groups so that they would make sure to help each other out. I mean, it's a good place for like a fantasy series, has both all the war and politics in one small island that like other places have. I would prefer like no, I don't want to like talk to somebody. I just want like a history book or something, or preferably a channel or even a YouTube channel that specializes in South American history would be good. Um, I'm socializing right now. I'm talking to you. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it on a socialized level. But we're all friendly here. I've made legitimate friends from Twitch. I talk to people quite frequently. Off. I'm aware there's a slight power imbalance on the thing, but we talk. Cupchan? I'm just doing boring stuff. Just. Okay, let's see. Scheduling time and email to publish. Actually, it would tell me when, like... Okay, well... We'll put this next week. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me! I fell a little bit behind on all this stuff. I fell a little bit behind on all this stuff because I had a... there was a power outage here for a couple of days, which was very frustrating, so I couldn't write. You did not tell me that you had a husbando. Who's your husbando? It isn't Jeff Bezos, is it? He's a weirdo. Okay, I know Aqua. Is Aqua your husband? Okay. You know I'm a priest, right? Oh, so you're married now. Listen, I went to the I'm an official reverend of the Universal Life Church. I'm an official reverend of the Universal Life Church, and I can get you guys married like that. In fact, I can marry anybody on this channel if I want to. Do not doubt me! Do not doubt my abilities. God himself has appointed me. Of you subscribing? I think so. Yeah. Let's see. How long have you been subscribed? You followed me on November 29th. But yeah, in a few, of you being on Twitch. Oh, with Mary. Oh, that's so sweet. What's the first anniversary? What's the first anniversary gift? You know how for every anniversary there's a thing you're supposed to get. Also, ads are coming up in 14. Boo! Ads! Do it. Toost. Yes. Okay. Okay, we have 4 scheduled. I don't know. I'm sure it was very nice. I'm such a sweet boy. What happened to your table? Did you sell it? I assume all of you are young people. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to do something even nicer. 1 second. What's your thought about fantasy races in fantasy books now? I hear real mixed thoughts about that, and I don't necessarily disagree with really any of the points. I'm just curious what the thought process is lately. Me personally, I think they can be a lot of fun. Yeah, so I personally think they can be a lot of fun, but I also think when handled wrong, there's some really like skeevy shit that can come through. Yeah. Yeah. That's my general opinion, but I don't know. I go back and forth whether I should include them or not. Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. Sure, that's fun. Yeah. Exactly, exactly. I mean, that's definitely the issue, I think. Is that well, there's also the whole like have you ever read Aragon or Aragon? I don't know. Occasionally like people will do like one of the problems is like they'll occasionally like use elves to be like the perfect pure creatures that we and that anybody who has elven DNA is inherently better and stuff like that. I really hate Aragon for that. That's the thing. The original broken teacup. There's a very uncomfortable eugenicist. Yeah, yeah. Follow. Yeah, follow me. I don't care. Listen, I want to get to it. I'm trying to eventually get to 1,000 here. Yeah, that's a very good. That's a very good thought process. No, Opus is the one that followed me, not Broken Teacup. Broken Teacup. Yay! Tell me what you were saying. Tell it! Yeah. Pen, that is the exact issue that I have. That's the exact issue I hate. Is that one. That's that's what I was alluding to. No, no, no. I always knew you post opus. Postopus. A post office. Yeah. Exactly. Well, the problem is when people get into like eugenics ideas is when it gets really creepy. Like occasionally like fantasy books will find itself like just straight up supporting eugenics ideas and I'm like, Jesus. And then like there are fantasy fans who seem to have no issue with that and I'm like, "Oh, really? No, not that." But having like different monsters and races, are fun. Are fun. Exactly. Yeah. Listen, it's all fun and games until people start taking it seriously. You know? Like the whole I told you it was true, but you know what I'll do? I'll give the original broken teacup also mod status. No, I never knew. I only know Opus. I don't know Broken Teacup. Two mods. Okay, tell me about it. I mean, like, I don't know. The most important thing to remember is environment influences a lot more than we think it does than, like, say, genetics. Yeah, tell us about it. The important thing to remember is environment is very important to people, less so than environment and condition and training is very less so than I would say. I don't know. Like, remember that there's only been one, like, definitive known case of evolution that has happened in recent human history of humans, and that is the Sherpa people of Tibet have developed a greater resistance to the sun. Their eyes have developed a greater resistance to the sun because they're constantly going up mountains. And that's been a well studied, like, evolutionary thing. Yeah, but the reason they have that is because they're constantly they've been constantly, like, because yeah, yeah, like, there's stuff like that they found, but that's because, like, people, like, they're doing stuff like that, and so, like, there's elements of that, but so I guess that, that's maybe a good way to approach, like, fantasy stuff a little bit. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard because it's like elves really bother me for that. All the I love all the fantasy bullshit, but it's also, I don't want to do it where I, like, yeah. I love all the fantasy bullshit, but I want to, yeah, yeah. Don't do it shitty. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. I guess pen. You know what? I guess that's the ultimate solution. Oh God! Don't say that. Ooh, bad way to phrase that. That's the way to fix this problem. Is just work hard. Just work hard and make sure that they're not just generic, like, perfect beings. And that fixes a lot of the issues. Yeah. Well, a lot of Callie, that's 100% okay. That is just a character who has had a friend and experienced a death, and that's fine. Yeah. 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 Well, there's great books and work out there that are about, like, yeah, political views and get it right. The problem is, I would say one of the main problems, especially with, like, say, elves particularly, is that people often use elves to show off what they think the perfect civilization is. And they often give elves all these kind of amazing powers, like natural powers. So it's like, the implication is that the elves, also, it's because they make all the elves, and they also make all the elves really white. So, like, the implication is, like, it's these perfect angelic white elves who have built the perfect society, and everybody else is just evil and terrible. And then you couple that with, like, giving, like, usually the bad guys, like, darker skin and they're violent and angry and warlike, and that's problems, 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 problems. And then something like, say, like Aragorn, where the main character, like, the better the main character gets, the more elven-like he gets, I've also had a problem with. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. There's also, that's also my main critique, by the way, of Percy Jackson. I know, does that count as total fantasy? I don't know if that counts as fantasy, but I always hated that in Percy Jackson that, like, every historical person has to in some way be half god. I don't like that implication. I always found that really, like, skeevy. Yeah. But did you notice that, like, yeah, isn't that weird? I found that weird. I didn't like that. Like, every important historical person has to be half god in some way. And I like the Percy Jackson books generally, but I really don't like that element. Yeah. Well, it also implies that only specially people from a great godlike genetic source can create all things. And us stupid humans have, I mean, there is an element to that also, that, like, a lot of the ancient alien people believe that there are people out there who have alien DNA, like, that intermarried with the aliens. Anyways, okay, let's talk about something more fun. What are, like, the dumbest fantasy things you've ever read? I'm curious. Because, yes, we all love good fantasy, but what are dumb fantasy? I like dumb fantasy as well. Like, dumb cliches are fun. Take your time. Take your time. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, that's always one of the things. It's like, tell me. Sure. Sure. Okay. Also, question. Alternative history. What's your experience with it? Okay. Sure. Okay, alternative history, very simple. Alternative history is about it takes place in a world where the history turned out differently. Like the common ones are like what if the Cold War was an actual like heated up, or what if World War II ended differently, or what if you know what if Kennedy wasn't killed? What if you know stuff like that? Anybody have any experience with this genre? Yeah, that could be fun. Well, you can add extra stuff like that. I've been thinking. I was thinking we should try and create a timeline. As a history, we should create a timeline, not just of our timeline happened the way it happens. Let's try and create an alternative timeline where you change a few details and suddenly everything goes. Yeah. Yeah. Is this a real thing? I'm gonna look it up now. All I'm seeing is Curb Your Enthusiasm. If you link it to me, I'll give it a look over. Link it, find it for me. Yeah. So let's see. There. Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Wow, this person put in a lot of work for it. Jesus. Jeebus. Jeebus. This is a book. They wrote an actual book. Oh my gosh. They wrote 30 chapters of this thing. Wow. That's amazing. I'm quite impressed by this person's yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fun. Yeah. Well, arguably, if we want to talk about this, alternative history arguably is just historical fan fiction in a lot of ways. Have you guys ever played the Wolfenstein games? You guys want to see something I was drawing? I'm still working on this drawing, but you guys want to see something I'm working on? Just because I finished up. The Funker herself. I was working on this yesterday. Yes, we were saying very nice things. I was working on this yesterday. Thank you. I was kind of proud of it. It's not done yet, but... Well, that's good. I've only played the first Psychonauts game. I remember liking it. I know there's a second one now. Yeah, people like it. Even Yahtzee Croshaw liked it. Uh, and I like his stuff. Which typo? I've been thinking. So partly why I'm talking about maybe trying to do like a fantasy book is I've also been thinking of trying to start a Royal Road, like a Royal Road book. But I just need an idea that I'd be interested in. Sure. I wanted to. I just don't have any ideas that I like. I mean, I have vague. Yeah. That's probably a good idea. I like have vague ideas, but it's like I don't know. Nothing concrete. Yeah. Nah, I'd want something more like book or yeah. Yeah. I had I don't know. I had an idea of like a World War One based fantasy, but I don't know. It's funny when you think about it. World War One is an incredibly disliked war, considered stupid. Yes, stupid and pointless, but also because it's so disliked. There's no like political. I think. I had a vague idea for a World War One based fantasy. Maybe I don't know. I know the site likes isekai stories, but I've never been able to effectively write one of those. I don't know. Also, I know. Tell me the thing. Yeah. Oh, so I was literally one of the first people you followed. Yeah. Isekai is. Listen, I know we don't want to talk about any more depressing political things. I'm fine with that, but I do think it's very interesting that there is a very popular genre where it's about an advanced modern person giving culture to a primitive society, and I think it's very interesting that there's a lot of Japanese stories that does that. Just saying, just saying, just saying. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting way to approach things. Yeah. Truth be told, yeah. 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 I I don't want to build mechanics. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not. Like, no offense. I don't know. It's not something I'm interested in writing a lit RPG. Yeah. like, no offense to people who do, but it's just like I don't have that much interest in writing. Yeah. Yeah. So, yes, tell me. The reason I'm particularly Royal Road, I know somebody who got a book deal. Yeah. Who got a book deal writing on Royal Road. I met an author once who got a book deal because he had a popular Royal Road series. So it's always been a thing in the back of my head of like, oh, Royal Road is out there. And that guy I met once, he got super nice guy. I liked him a lot. Yeah, yeah, pretty popular. He said he was in like the top 10 for a good deal while he was writing it. Yeah, it's good to know. Good to know. What if I was trying to think? Could I write like maybe the most unpopular book on there? Like try and write a book with everything that people hate on there. Do you guys just want to play Fallout? Yeah. 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 But that's always, let's go further into this a little bit. That's always like the thing with nerd culture, because I that was always the thing with nerd culture when I was young, at least, is that they would make fun of, like, nerd culture is also partly about making fun of nerd culture. That's always the thing. Like, because I remember nerd culture always being about how lame and nerdy everybody was when it was written by lame nerds. So, that's maybe it's too mean. I don't know. I'm sure it's too mean. Too mean now. I don't know. I know it can. Yeah. I know it can really hurt sometimes. I know even like I know I've been yeah, exactly. I know even like when people occasionally try and be like jokey with me, they can actually really hurt my feelings. So, I probably shouldn't like say practically, well, boys will be boys, like sure, but that doesn't mean it's good. Yeah. And they didn't mean anything by it, but it just cuts a little bit too close to home, and it can really hurt my feelings. Also, somebody once insulted. I had to take steroids once for medical reasons, and I was super emotionally like vulnerable and weird. And somebody made fun of me, and I just kind of turns out, yeah, steroids really kind of induce a pretty bad rage in you, and that was very unfair. Yeah, that was very unfair. I felt, I don't know. I think they were being mean, but I probably would have handled it a lot differently if I wasn't on steroids. Nice. Are you living with people or is it just by yourself? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you. Paul. I did have an idea for a Fallout inspired D&D session at some point in time. Or like maybe Savage Worlds instead. Have you ever played Savage Worlds, Opus? Yeah. Well, I've had this idea in my head for a long time about Savage Worlds is like a simplified combat of D&D. Because I'm a little bit tight. I'm burnt out with D&D combat. I think it's too long and too complicated. I want something simplified. Whatever. So, I've had this idea. I've been talking about this for a while. About a little. Yeah. I've been talking about this idea for a while. I have an idea for. I've had this idea in my head for what a new Fallout game should be for a long time. And I was like, the scenario I think I kind of came up with, it would be a fun scenario. And I'm like, why don't I try? Hey, Coffee Quails! Speaking of that, we're talking Fallout. I did a lot of writing, and I kind of want to take a break and play some Fallout New Vegas. What was I saying? Anyways, okay. Do you guys want to? So I thought it might be fun to play this scenario. Have you played the new games? Yeah. Well, Pen, I'm gonna reveal something horrible to everybody. The shocking twist that will upend the entire streaming world forever. I do writing before I stream. I usually use streams just to edit the stuff I wrote. Shock and twist. I know. Complete heathen. Heathen of the highest order. Yes, I often write off stream and just of the highest order. I know. My little Fallout guy. By the way. No, never. I should roleplay. It's all of it. I've been to New Zealand, by the way, to tour Lord of the Rings filming sites. That's a real thing I did. It looks like we're going to probably play some Fallout New Vegas. I'll let the vote keep going. Yeah. You think I give up? People usually say I give up. I'm kind of a dwarf. I have a dwarven energy to me. Oh, how are you liking Disco Elysium, by the way? I love that. That's one of my favorite games. Well, I need the beard usually. Return of the Obra Dinn, I like. I have trouble figuring out how. I'm bad at like detective games. Yeah. I'm bad at like detective games. Listen, I do it this. Listen, I film up high because I'm gonna hide my double chin just a little bit. I'm 5'10", so yeah. Well, yeah, it's fine. But I used to have it lower, and it looked less good. Okay, it might crash, by the way. The stream, so be prepared for that. I mean, almost a lot of people have it, and it's shitty to do. But also, it's 100% why I grow a beard. Usually. Let's see. How are you liking Disco Elysium, by the way? Callie, I'm curious. I'm curious your thought processes behind that. Husband break. Okay, you're married to your wife. I decree it. Well, Penn, it was a pleasure to meet you. Don't be a stranger, okay? Have you ever played a Fallout game before? Oh, right. No, Opus, you haven't. I forget. Yeah. Sorry. Sometimes I ask the same questions over. Well, prepare there. We're going to play Fallout New Vegas. It's a little janky. It's an older game, so like the graphics are a little janky, but and they weren't particularly great at the time of release, but it's a pretty fun game nonetheless. Isn't it? Oh, it's so good. I'm so happy you like it. That's one of my favorite games, Disco Elysium. We could play that. I don't know. I want to play Fallout. Disco Elysium's a little bit like intense of a game. But it's funny and weird and just so well. It's like so clear, like a novelist wrote it, which is also like nice, which I like. Uh, okay. I'm gonna let it run out fully. See. I don't like playing games I've never played before on here, just because like when I play a new game, I want to just like pay attention to it. But I had the thought process of like, oh, I could just play games I've already played a bunch. That's fine. Looks like the yeses have won it. Oh, there's the audience tag. Audience. Mature rate of game. It's here. It's here. It's here. Okay, that's good. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to quick log off and then log back on so that these are two separate videos. Sound good? Be back in like a second.